How's it going, everybody? My name's Dave Whipple and you're watching Bushradical. I'm out here on the road with my traveling buddy, Daisy. Yep, she knows your name. We are traveling down some back roads in a huge tract of state and federal land in Lake County, Michigan. The reason we're out here is we're going to be answering 8 bushcraft and camping related questions that were passed on to me by MT Woods Runner. MT's a really cool guy. I love watching his videos. I like his demeanor. He just seems like a really great guy. I think he'd be a great guy to go camping with. And I was honored that he passed this tag on to me, these 8 questions for me to answer. So I'm going to go out here in a nice, cool place to hang out and take a little bit of time, and I'm going to answer those 8 questions. And then when I'm all done, I'm going to pass the 8 questions on to 5 other YouTubers, and hopefully everyone will get a chance to answer those questions and pass them on again. They're good questions. It's a neat way to kind of really unpack your thoughts and kind of share different perspectives on different aspects of bushcraft and camping. Hope you guys find all the answers interesting, and look forward to seeing the folks who are tagged at the end answer the questions themselves. Thank you guys for watching. 8 questions. I wrote them all down because I'd never remember them. All right, let's get to them. What is your most memorable camp? Oh, there's been so many camps that have been so memorable that I think about. It's really hard to pin it down to just one. I'm gonna throw a few out there just because I don't really care for rules. Little Brevoort Campground in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I've been going there since I was just a little kid, mostly on smelt dipping trips. That's the campground that Brooke and I were filming in just a couple weeks ago when we were in the UP. I think my first experience in that campground was probably in the 70s, a long time ago. Other campgrounds, anywhere along the Yukon River is a wonderful camp. In the fall, the water really drops. There's tons of wood. You can burn a cord of wood a night and never scratch the surface. So anywhere along the Yukon is a super awesome campsite in the fall. But probably the campsite that's the most memorable to me is there's a little island out in Minto Flats in the middle of Alaska, and Brooke and I actually own a piece of that island. It's just a swampy stretch of land. There's nobody out there. There's no one else that was on this island, but it's just a piece of real estate that came up for sale. I'd fished around this island before. There was no pictures. I was probably the only guy who knew where the thing was and that it was for sale. So it was just kind of a thing that came together. So Minto Flats, Alaska, our little campground island fish camp, that's probably my most memorable camp. We would take the kids there even when they were just tiny, and that's where Belle and Mick both learned how to fish, and we'd do a lot of pike fishing, sit around camp a lot. The matter of fact, we all still go there, even though it's changed hands twice since we owned it. And the reason is, whoever owns it, they don't do anything there. The tent platform that we put up originally is still there. The pots and pans we brought originally are still there. So lots of memories with the kids and the wife, and just kids growing up out there at camp. That's probably my most memorable camp. What is it, Daisy? What's going on with the Daisy dog? She's pretty and she's fancy. Don't you bump my tripod. Get out of the way, hippie. Go lay down. Go lay down. Okay, question number 2. Do you prefer to camp alone or in a group? It's 2 different things. Camping by yourself is it's a unique experience. When you really think about it, who camps by themselves? Very few people really go out of their way to spend time overnight or extended amounts of time in the woods by themselves. Camping is such a social thing. When you really think about how many people go out by themselves and do overnights, it's not a lot of people. It's kind of an experience that once you do a bit of solo camping, you kind of crave it, but it's also boring. A lot of times you don't really have anything to do. I always take a book. When I'm camping by myself, I take a book, I take a notebook, and I take extra headlamp batteries, and You know, sometimes it could be 2 o'clock in the morning, and if it's a good book, I'll just sit there by the fire and read it. But it's interesting. You gain a perspective solo camping that you would never get anywhere else, and you really kind of get to blend in with what's around you. It's a really cool experience. But you know, I like to talk, I like to yak, I like to drink coffee, I like to cook, make breakfasts. I'd rather camp with a group. But solo camping, it's its own thing. There's kind of nothing like it. It's enjoyable too, but it's different. It's not for everybody. I'd prefer to camp with a group, but camping by yourself, it's kind of cool too. But I'd pick a group. What's your favorite knife? Very interesting question. Let me show you. My favorite knife is this one because I have it. If I had a different knife, that'd probably be my favorite. I actually don't get super attached to knives. I like my knives. I seem to have more of them all the time. I've never really found a knife that I thought, you know, this is the be-all end-all knife. Because honestly, I don't whittle much. I rarely ever baton any wood for any reason. I just don't need a knife much in the woods. I probably use a knife in the woods less than anybody you know. Maybe anybody out there. I don't use a knife much. And it's not that I don't need a knife, but I don't find other things to do with it. You know, I cut a piece of string when I need it cut. I cut a piece of pot roast. I don't really whittle. I don't really make spoons. I like to loaf in camp. I like to putter. You bring a broken fishing reel or, you know, some material to make something with. Yeah, that's what I do in camp. I like to make stuff and I like to fix stuff. But as far as carving, I don't really do much of it. You know, there are guys out there that are knife critics, and they can differentiate the fine points from one knife to the next. That's just not me. If a knife is quality enough to do what I need it to do at the moment, then it's good enough. So my favorite knife, I really don't have a favorite per se. Steve Ganem made me a knife. It's really cool, and it's awesome because somebody made it for me. I really like that knife. I appreciate the story, I appreciate the sentiment, love it. LT Wright, he sent me a knife. That's an LT Wright Genesis. It's been in a lot of my videos. That's probably my overall favorite knife because I love the knife, I love the steel, I love the fact that somebody thought enough of me to say, hey, here, have this knife. Just like the one that Steve made for me, the 73 Forge knife and the LT Wright knife, those are probably my favorites because they were given to me. They're both high quality knives. If I had to grab a knife, it'd probably be one of those two. But as far as like, I love this knife. This is my perfect knife. I just want a knife that works. I'm pretty happy with anything. So the knife, my favorite knife, it's just the one I have. And if I'm carrying it, I know it's a quality knife. I don't have anything that's junk. I hate junk. It might be a $10 knife, like an old hickory, but that's a quality knife. I don't buy junk. If it's in a cellophane bubble with a cardboard back and it's got some celebrity's picture on it, but it's just made of pot metal and plastic, I don't want it. I don't even want to use it. But honestly, if I had to use it and it worked, I'd probably like it just as well as any other. Where did you learn all your bushcraft skills? Where did I learn my bushcraft skills? That's such an interesting question. Camping's always been a part of my life. I love puttering with stuff. I love fixing stuff. I love building stuff. I've been a lifelong builder. I've built half a dozen homes. I don't know how wide of a bushcraft skill set you really need. When you're talking about bushcraft skills, in my mind, what you're really talking about is improvisation. Seeing what you've got and figuring out what you can do with it. And the other half of that would be what your aptitude is for manipulating whatever it is you have into whatever it is you need. It's like anything that's hands-on, anything that's handwork. I've always had quite a natural aptitude for it. I've pretty much been a lifelong mechanic. My dad taught me a lot of stuff I know about just engines and mechanics and how things work. And I've been a carpenter and a mason my entire adult life, as far as just putting things together, seeing work, seeing what you can do with what you have. I think that's just, it's a natural aptitude some people work for, and some people, it comes a little easier. And for me, I think it's just kind of the way I'm wired. I've always been a wood burning person in a wood burning family. So starting fires is second nature. Building things is pretty much second nature. As far as food procurement in a bushcraft setting, I'm a lifetime fisherman. I've been fishing my entire life. Hunting, I'm a pretty crap hunter. I won't lie to you. I've had limited success hunting. I got a caribou 10 years ago. I haven't been bow hunting in forever. When it comes to small game, give me a 22, I'll keep the pot full. But other than that, I don't really have any special insight into hunting. If I had free time and I was gonna go get food, I would probably go fishing. So I guess you could say that's how I got my bushcraft skills, is just doing. I'm perpetually interested in stuff, so I'm always working with my hands. I just enjoy that sort of thing. Anything that's outdoors, anything that's got to do with your hands, I'm just kind of naturally inclined to be pretty decent at it. So that's pretty much where I got my bushcraft skills from, is building, camping, fishing, and just a lifetime of being interested in stuff. Let me see if I can get any more of these. It's getting pretty dark. I may have to start a fire. Actually, the very next question, what's your favorite way to start a fire? Well, that's simple. That's absolute. Let me show you. Without any question, this way. A Bic lighter, no question about it. I'm actually quite proficient with a bow drill. I've never started a fire with a hand drill. I would like to learn that. I don't generally start fires with a bow drill. I generally start fires with a Bic lighter. There have been times in my life where I've needed a fire bad enough, I would have lit a pile of $20 bills on fire. Sometimes my favorite way to start a fire is with a half a gallon of gas and a pan of used motor oil and a couple of old tires. When you need a fire, you need it. Ever since I flipped that canoe back in 2000 and was hypothermic, I've pretty much carried a lighter in my pocket. People probably think I smoke because I'll, someone needs something lit, I've got a lighter in my pocket. But I generally don't go anywhere without a lighter. I generally use a lighter first. I think a ferro rod is a great idea. I like lighting fires with a ferro rod. I like lighting fires with a bow drill. I think that the freedom that knowing how to start a primitive fire gives you is worth its weight in gold. To know that you can do that. Once you practice that skill and understand the mechanics of it and appreciate, the concentration it takes and the simple attention to detail that it needs, you come to respect fire a lot more in general. I think having that skill is absolutely worth having, because it frees you up. You don't have to rely on something like this. You don't have to, you couldn't make this in the wild. You certainly couldn't make ferrocerium. I don't even know what the heck's in it, but you couldn't make it. But you could make a hand drill. You could make a bow drill. Now I'm gonna learn the hand drill just because I think it's fascinating. I just haven't got to it yet. I've been doing bow drill for 20 years. Very valuable skill to have, very important. If you can get that skill, by all means, make sure you get it. But never leave home without a Bic lighter. When you need a fire, it doesn't really matter if you can make a bow drill fire or make a hand drill fire. What really matters is, can you make a fire in 2 minutes? If I've been out fishing in the rain for 6 hours with a friend of mine, my buddy John Cassidy comes to mind. One time we came into camp, and I think I had a fire 30 seconds after we got back to our site, because I'd been pulling twigs and stuff on the walk in, and it was just a matter of the lighter's out, everything's lit, and we're getting heat, because we were, teeth chattering, and you've been out in a boat. Long story for another time maybe. So any way to start a fire is a good way. Fire is what you want. Being a snob is not what you want. If you've got to throw gas on something because you have to have a fire, go for it. Get your fire. Fire is what matters. My favorite way, right there. Let's see what else is on here. It's getting dark, man. Most essential piece of gear. Man. I'm gonna go two pieces of gear on the most essential piece of gear. I'm gonna say a wool sweater and a lighter. And the reason I'm gonna say that, and you could put a ferro rod in there too, be fire and warm clothing. I never go anywhere without warm clothing. Even if it's 90 degrees out, it could drop down to 50 or 60 in the middle of the night. You can get really cold if you don't have a fire, and if you can't get a fire, you know, at least having something like a scarf, a wool stocking cap, a wool sweater. If I had to pick an essential piece of gear, if you got enough fire, you don't need any of that. And if you got enough warm clothing, you really don't even need fire. And if you got a tarp or something of that nature to keep you dry, you know, you're pretty much set. So you could pick any one of those as an essential piece of gear. If I had to pick anything, I would probably have to say again the lighter, just because it's in my pocket 24/7, 7 days a week. If you were hanging out and you want something lit, just ask, it's in my pocket. So I'd have to say that's probably what I would choose as my one piece of essential gear. And you can change that for a ferro rod if you want. Lighter, I just have one all the time, so that'd probably be my pick. Do you prefer, okay, can I even see this? It's getting dark. Do you prefer alcohol, wood, or a gas stove? Oh, listen to the coyotes. You guys hear those coyotes? Daisy, stay. Shh, 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 shh. Sit down. Sit. It's a great time of night to hear coyotes. If they'd come in a bit closer, there's got to be a dozen of them. Not that I really want them to, but it's always a cheap thrill. Daisy, sit down. So when it comes to a stove, between an alcohol stove, a wood stove, or a gas stove, if I'm traveling with a car and I need my coffee and maybe cook something, it's just a Coleman pump-up stove. For me, it's always wood. Wood is the king. I like to camp in places where I can just burn wood. If I can't have a wood fire in an area, I might have one anyway. I probably wouldn't be there if it's that strict and patrolled. If there's some nanny saying, you know, you can't have a fire here, it's probably not for me anyway. So I'm gonna say wood all the time. Let me see if I can wrap this up. Can you guys still see me? I barely see myself. I don't know if I can even read this last one. You know what? I should light a fire. I think I'm gonna. Hold on a sec. Let's walk down this hill. We'll light a quick fire. Because it's getting so dark. I can't see my hand in front of my face. All the wood around here is just powder dry. Okay, do I keep a bug out bag in the car? Actually, in Michigan, the place we own in Michigan, it's got water underneath the basement floor. I've got broken chunks of concrete I could just move, and you know, there's basically a cistern underneath the floor of the old farmhouse. And Not only that, but you know, we've got food in the house, and you know, we have firearms and ammo, and it's not somewhere you'd leave if you were bugging out. And in Alaska, the other 6 months out of the year, honestly, Alaska is the place a lot of people think they're going to bug out to if something ever happened. They're going to go north to the wild frontier. We're already north of Fairbanks, Alaska. It's just about as far as you can get and still be an American. I wouldn't go anywhere. I actually might go to a few places I know that are in the bush in interior Alaska. But that's literally like going from the bush to the bush. But keeping a bug out bag in the truck, I don't really keep anything like that. I generally keep a wool sweater, maybe a raincoat, maybe a sleeping bag, maybe an axe, and a lighter. Those are the things that I usually have. I also keep toilet paper in the truck, you know, for just in case. But as far as a bug out bag proper with a lot of stuff, I've never put one together. There's so many people that have so many theories about what to put in a bug out bag. I wouldn't even know where to start. I just know what works for me, and that's, you know, maybe a little bit of light groceries, warm clothes, a raincoat, an axe, a lighter, maybe some plastic, a tarp or something like that. Those are the things I generally have handy in the car or in the truck, but it's not really a bug out bag because I'm really not going anywhere. I'm going to try to head back to the car. Well, I can still find it. Let's go. All right, thanks everybody for sticking with me to the end of that video. I hope those questions were of some value to somebody out there, and I think it was fun to do them. I had a great time. I want to thank MT Woods Runner for passing that tag on to me, that 8-question tag, and I'm going to pass it on to 5 other YouTubers right now. First person I want to pass this on, Frontiersman Self-Reliance. That is the YouTube channel of my buddy Brody Wilkes, also an alumni from season 4 of Alone. Now, Brody is, he's one of these guys that, you know, he grows his own food. He grows his own beef. You know, he's really doing a lot of stuff that people talk about. He's actually doing it. He wants to get as much of his own food as he can and live fairly simple. And Brody just started a while back on his YouTube channel. And he's just got a few videos up, and he's just getting started. And I would love to hear what Brody has to say on these 8 questions. So I'm going to pass this on to Brody over at Frontiersman Self-Reliance. I want to pass this on to Wooden Arrows. Wooden Arrows is a guy who's been a sub to my channel for quite a while. Interesting guy. He's done a lot of stuff. When we talk back and forth through the comments, he's been around a bit and he's seen quite a bit of stuff. I like talking with him. I'd like to hear what he's got to say. So I'm also passing this on to Wooden Arrows. Newer guy that's just kind of coming around that I'd like to hear what he's got to say on this. Mountain Coffee Outdoors. Mountain Coffee, I believe, is all one word, and outdoors is the next word. Nice guy, just a bit younger than I am, and just kind of getting started in the whole YouTube thing. And I want to hear what he's got to say. I would also like my buddy Steve to chime in on this over at 73 Forge Knives. Now, I could just call Steve and say, hey, what would you answer to these questions? But it's much better to let Steve explain his answers in a video if he's willing to answer these questions. So Steve over at 73 Forge Knives, I'll pass this on to you too, bud. And last but not least, I want to pass this 8-question tag on to my wife, Girl in the Woods. We sit next to each other upstairs in the old house and edit, and we're always yakking about what we're doing. And she thought this was a cool project, and I definitely want her to be part of it. You know, we've had the same experience going back 22 years now, and you know, I probably know what she's going to say, but heck, I don't know what I'm going to say until I start talking half the time. So I'm going to pass this tag on to Brooke too, over at Girl in the Woods. And those are my 5 picks for people that I would like to tag. There's lots of other people I would like to tag, but a lot of them don't produce any videos. They're just part of the YouTube community, talk back and forth in the comments a lot, but they don't actually shoot film and put out content. So there's a lot of people I would have liked to have asked these questions to, but without being creators, they really don't have any way to answer these in the public. So the people I would really like to pass this tag on to, there they are. Frontiersman Self-Reliance, Wooden Arrows, Mountain Coffee Outdoors, 73 Forged Knives, and Girl in the Woods. Thank you guys so much for watching Bushradical. If you haven't subbed yet, hit the bell and hit the little subscribe button so you're subscribed and you get updates when I post videos, which I try to do quite often. Thank you guys for all the comments. Love talking to everybody that comments on the channel. And I really appreciate all the views, and I appreciate you staying to the end because this is a long video. So thank you guys for watching Bushradical. My name's Dave Whipple. And be radical, eh? See you soon.